So, chat, let's see how many of these movie Easter eggs you caught when you saw the movie. Huh?
One of the many reasons that we love watching films is that there's always so much more to offer with each new viewing. Whether it's a seemingly throwaway line that foreshadows something to come, or details in a shot that you've never noticed, or the finer details of the filmmaking itself, there's always a reason to watch something again. Likewise, plenty of filmmakers will fill their films with sneaky hidden details or references known as Easter eggs for those eagle-eyed fans to spot. Some Easter eggs are pretty well known. It's likely you'll already be familiar with Toy Story, including the carpet from The Shining's Overlook Hotel, the Pulp Fiction reference on Nick Fury's tombstone in Captain America the Winter Soldier, or Alfred Hitchcock's many cameos in his own films. However, there are some Easter
Okay. An Alfred Hitchcock, well, would an Alfred Hitchcock cameo in his own film be considered an Easter egg? I'm not entirely sure that kind of fits in the definition. Well, he didn't star in it, rather than he would just show up as a cameo. It's like Stan Lee cameoing in literally every Marvel movie until his death. Yeah, so it's not, I don't know if I would classify that as an Easter egg. You know? I don't think Quentin Tarantino is in all of his movies, GBP. He's been in a couple of them, to be sure. I don't think he's been in all of them, though.
Easter eggs that are so well hidden that it's likely they went straight over your head the first, second, or even third time of watching a film. Finding these Easter eggs would take some serious detective work.
And in Ready Player One is Easter egg the fucking movie, Larook.
Hours scouring over every single frame of a film to unearth these hidden details you never noticed. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for WhatCulture here with 50 obscure movie Easter eggs you probably missed. Under the Silver Lake, the hidden messages. Set in modern-day LA against a 50s film noir aesthetic, David Robert Mitchell's polarizing Under the Silver Lake follows Sam investigate the mysterious disappearance of his neighbor, which involves strange symbols, hidden messages, a dog killer, and a nightmarish owl lady. Yeah, really. Since this film is all about hidden messages, it's only appropriate that it has some of its own as Easter eggs. One of the most elaborate involves following a series of clues throughout the film, starting with a news message reading copiale graffiti.
Oh my god, is that Ben Affleck? Is that Ben Affleck? I can't tell. If that is... The nose is well, that could be prosthetics. It's not? Okay. Alright. I was gonna say, if that's Ben Affleck and them calling him the Daredevil, that would be an Easter egg. But it's not. Okay.
Reading copiale graffiti. This refers to graffiti on a bathroom stool that uses the 250-year-old copiale cipher. Cracking this reveals coffee menu, which points to an earlier scene where Morse code is visible in a coffee shop. Solving that spells out another code that can be cracked using another hidden cipher. And if you manage that with the help of another hidden clue, you'll have what 3 words. The aim now is to find these elusive words to get a location on the website What 3 Words, although these are still up for debate. Some think it means using the Zodiac Killer's cryptogram, while others believe it's just all a wild goose chase. Beetlejuice Jack
Dear fucking God! That is like, if that was all deliberate, holy shit. That's not an Easter egg, that's a fucking scavenger hunt. I'm pretty sure we've leapfrogged over the concept of Easter eggs in movies with that one, if this is all true and not just one giant coinky-dink.
From Edward Scissorhands, Corpse Bride and Batman, 2-time Oscar-nominated director Tim Burton's distinctive style has seen him reach the heights of pop culture. However, arguably two of his most iconic creations are that of cult classics Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas, which he created but didn't direct. Seeing a crossover of these two properties anytime soon is incredibly unlikely, but what you might not have known is that the iconic main characters from each of these films have already shared the screen together. In Beetlejuice's climactic scene where the titular spirit is summoned to cause havoc on some meddling humans, a creepy doll can briefly be glimpsed at the top of his outfit.
Oh, shit!
That figure being Jack Skellington. Releasing 5 years before The Nightmare Before Christmas, viewers of Beetlejuice would be none the wiser to the relevance of this tiny detail. But
Jesus, Beetlejuice came out in the 80s, and then Nightmare Before Christmas came out in the 90s, didn't it? There's gotta be a 10-year gap between the two of them. So, you'll be very easy to miss. You would never even think about it, because when Beetlejuice came out, Jack Skellington didn't even exist. And who would notice that, 10 frames is 5 years, okay, 5 years apart, but who would equate those 10 frames that you see of this with Jack Skellington? No one.
Releasing 5 years before The Nightmare Before Christmas, viewers of Beetlejuice would be none the wiser to the relevance of this tiny detail. But hindsight's a wonderful.
Kanito, if there's anything I'm gonna say 3 times to hope, in the hopes of invoking a great spirit, it's going to be communism, communism, communism. Is he here? Did he show up? Is he in the chat? Damn. Didn't work. I guess I don't have enough power.
Wonderful thing, isn't it? The reason Beetlejuice viewers got to see the Pumpkin King before his own film did is because Burton had already composed the original poem and early character concepts back in 1982, 6 years prior to Beetlejuice's release, when he was still working as an animator for Disney. Guardians of the Galaxy, the religious symbolism. From the likes of Justice League and Spider-Man 2, it's not uncommon for superhero films to use religious symbolism to reinforce the status of the hero in question as a godlike savior figure. While some of these can be a little too much on the nose, some more subtle deployments of this motif can be.
Hell, I can't think of a more on the fucking nose use of it than the Matrix. How many of you guys remember the third Matrix movie when Keanu fucking dies? He's sitting there held aloft, arms outstretched like he's on a cross, with a brilliant light being shown all around him. Yeah. It gets I'm sorry, the overuse with it is in movies is a little bit much.
Be really effective. But in the case of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, this imagery went straight over the head of many viewers. However, seeing as the Easter egg only makes sense in relation to a deleted image Gunn posted on his social media.
Pretty sure. Wait, okay. I vaguely remember this. And I'm pretty sure, now, I don't know if this Easter egg is in reference to this or something else, but I'm pretty sure this got called out instantaneously. But I'm wondering if they're referencing something else.
This imagery went straight over the head of many viewers. However, seeing as the Easter egg only makes sense in relation to a deleted image Gunn posted on his social media, we can't blame you for missing it. The image in question depicted the eponymous superhero sitting at a table in a tableau resembling The Last Supper, with Groot in the place of Jesus. One fan quipped that Groot, being made of wood, would be able to be his own crucifix, to which Gunn replied he wasn't far off. In the highly emotional scene where Groot protects his team from dying in a ship crash, he holds out his arms in a familiar position prior to sacrificing himself to save his teammates. I mean, Groot really is.
Okay, okay, now, hold up. Hey, the fucker. I'm sorry, I don't see this as being religious symbology. He's literally out holding his arms outstretched to create a globe to wrap around them. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. I do not buy this. Not one bit. It's I mean, okay, yeah, like the whole thing about Groot being resurrected, you can maybe point to that. But like this is not like the whole Jesus on the cross symbolism here. Because he literally stretches his branches out and then curls them around to make a globe. No.
Prior to
I'm sorry,
sacrificing
no.
himself to save his teammates. I mean, Groot really is the true hero of the film, so... Coco Redrum. At the beginning, I spoke about the famous connection between the family-friendly Pixar film Toy Story and Kubrick's terrifying adaptation of The Shining. In fact, the connection between Pixar and The Shining goes a lot deeper. And for this, we can thank self-declared Shining mega fan Lee Unkrich, who has been including references to the chilling tale in all of his Pixar films. As well as Toy Story, Unkrich, who also runs a Shining blog, has included nods to the horror in both Toy Story 3 and Finding Nemo 2. Most recently, the filmmaker added 3 more.
Alright. Hang on.
3 and Finding Nemo 2.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Busting open the door and saying, "Here's Johnny," is hardly a fucking Easter egg anymore. Like, every third or fourth movie puts that in their fucking film. It's more, it is just a reference or a meme now. It stopped being an Easter egg a long fucking time ago.
2. Most recently, the filmmaker added 3 more to the collection in Coco. Surprisingly though, nobody seemed to notice them, with Unkrich having to hint about their locations prior to the film's home release. 2 are relatively easy to spot, one being Jack Torrance's axe in a tree stump next to a sleeping Dante, the second a
What? I'm sorry, this is a reach. Yeah, the shape of it kind of looks like Jack Torrance's axe. But yeah, exactly. This could literally be any fucking axe. I mean, yeah, the director's saying it's intentionally supposed to be the axe that Jack used. But no one's gonna even know. This one is like so fucking obscure, especially when you have it literally sitting next to a pile of split wood. Nobody's gonna even think about that.
The second a picture of the Grady twins in the background of the rehearsal scene, but the third
now that's neat.
was a lot trickier to spot. In the same shot as the axe, the director hinted to look to the object's left. What's there? A red drum. Get it? Red drum?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Very clever.
Oh. No, it is a red drum. Like, it is a steel drum. It is. The painting of the ghost twins was a hell of a lot better of an Easter egg than either of those other two. Okay, those other two were just like that was him thinking he was a hell of a that was him going, "I am so clever. I am so smart. I'm going to put all these neat little things in there." Like the picture with the two girls, okay, that was a cute little Easter egg. This was just like, I'm smarter than the audience. What the fuck's sake?
Coraline Family Portraits. For a family film, critically acclaimed stop-motion animation Coraline is terrifying. revolving around the eponymous girl who discovers a hidden doorway in her new home that leads to another world full of button-eyed doppelgangers. The film contains plenty of ghoulish imagery as she uncovers the true intention of the other mother,
I heard this was
planning
freaky
to
as
sew
hell.
buttons on her eyes in order to trap her soul. Coraline only learns the truth when she encounters a group of 3 ghostly children. This is the first time we meet the children in the ghostly flesh, as we learn that Coraline wasn't the first victim of the nightmarish creature.
Ew.
However, eagle-eyed viewers have noticed a clue to the children's existence earlier on in the film, in the scene where Coraline first enters this other world. In the scene in question, Coraline is presented with an appetizing cake as her button-eyed other parents persuade her to stay in their world.
The silhouettes, you guys are blocking them. Hold up. Let me swear you. The silhouettes behind the mom. You see them? That's what she's gonna reference, is that there's a third one there behind. There's a third one there behind the mom's head. But that's what they're referencing. Yeah, those 3 silhouettes.
Look closely at the background and you'll spot 3 silhouette portraits hanging on the wall that depict each of the 3 children. A sneaky bit of foreshadowing here hidden in plain sight. The significance
actually pretty
of this
clever.
tiny detail will likely have been missed by most first-time viewers.
That's actually quite clever, I must say.
The Empire Strikes Back, the potato asteroid. If there's a series that's had every single frame scavenged for as many details as possible, it's the Star Wars franchise. From a stormtrooper bumping their head on a doorway in A New Hope, all the way to...
Okay, that's not an Easter egg. The stormtrooper going dunk. That's not an Easter egg. That's a blooper that they just left in and didn't catch. So that was unintentional. But there is a cute little Easter egg in this scene. Does anybody know it? Anybody know what the Easter egg is in this scene? Yep. The ET species is right here. The ET species is canonically a part of the Star Wars universe.
To E.T. turning up in The Phantom Menace, Star Wars is bursting with a galactic size of Easter eggs. Due to the sheer amount of them, it would be a mammoth task for someone to spot them all. Especially this peculiar Easter egg from 1980's The Empire Strikes Back, which saw a potato being used as an asteroid in the scene where our group of heroes hurtle through an asteroid field to evade their Empire pursuers. The story for this entry goes that George Lucas was ruthless with the special effects artists working on this scene and demanded it to be reshot numerous...
Yeah, because they actually, you are correct, Tackle, because E.T. also did a nod to Star Wars first. Because don't forget, in E.T., one of the kids is dressed up as Yoda, and E.T. acts like he knows Yoda. When the kid comes up in the Yoda costume with Yoda mask, E.T. looks at the kids like he knows it. Like he knows who Yoda is. So yeah, it's like a shared universe. It's really cool.
Times to get the effects perfect. In response to Lucas criticizing one of the models as looking like a potato, the team included an actual potato in the sequence. Also throwing in a shoe to the same sequence, viewers would have to look very...
Just a shoe? So, Zeb, it wasn't a background ship, it was, an asteroid. It was an asteroid in the belt, this asteroid right here. That's a potato? Oh, you can see it's the shoe here. You can't really tell when it's up close, but back here, you can kind of tell it's a shoe. You can kind of see it. But this doesn't look like a potato to me.
The sequence. Also throwing in a shoe to the same sequence, viewers would have to look very, very closely to be able to spot this
I have no idea.
In fact, George Lucas never noticed the objects until they were pointed out to him years later. Joker, the Blue Boy. Taking home 2 of
Okay.
its 11 Oscar nominations, Todd Phillips' gritty take on the Clown Prince of Crime is
One of the
taking
best Easter
world
egg is
by...
R2-D2 in Star Trek, the first Chris Pine one.
Was he? I know R2-D2 was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That I did know. Like there, like in the construction of the alien ship in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's like an R2-D2 model used for that. I don't remember R2 being in this in the not Zack Snyder. Wait, was it Snyder? No, it was what's this fuck? Oh crap, I can't. R2-D2 is flying past in the debris of a Oh, okay, Zeb. I think I missed that one. R2 is in the debris field for a millisecond. Fun fact, in Star Trek First Contact, when all of the ships are attacking the Borg cube when it's flying over Earth in the very beginning of the movie, all of the Federation ships are attacking. You can see the Millennium Falcon in the background of the overall shot of all the Federation ships conducting their attack. The Millennium Falcon is actually in the background flying around in Star Trek First Contact.
Storm, once again showing how mature comic book films can be. Although it's a separate story to the multitude of Batman films we've seen over the years, Joker still pays tribute to the films that came before it and other incarnations of the comic book villain, one of which being incredibly subtle. In the rundown apartment Arthur shares with his mum, you might be able to make out a picture of a boy dressed in blue hanging next to the television.
Hello! Fuck! Okay, I've never seen... Okay, full disclosure, I have not seen the Joker movie. Please don't kill me. I've just never gotten around to seeing it. This is the same painting that the Joker defaces in the original Michael Keaton Batman movie. When Vicky Vale is waiting for Bruce Wayne in the art museum, the Joker and his gang break in, and they do their thing where they're dancing around the art museum, basically destroying art paintings. He goes up to this one and he signs it. He actually gets a paintbrush and signs this one. That's the painting that he signs.
If you were able to take your eyes off of Joaquin Phoenix's phenomenal performance. This isn't just a random piece of set dressing, this is Thomas Gainsborough's The Boy in Blue, and it connects this incarnation of Joker to the one portrayed by Jack Nicholson in Tim Burton's version of Batman. During the beloved museum scene from Burton's film, in which we see Nicholson's Joker have the time of his life, destroying precious artwork,
and you know what? Say what you will. Some people may not. Some people. I personally thought that Jack Nicholson did just fine. Jack Nicholson is not my favorite actor to play the Joker. But I will admit, he is clearly having the time of his life playing this character. And he played the Joker really well. He played him as being insane and having fun with it. He did a good job. He did I have no complaints about Nicholson's being Joker, other than maybe he's a little heavy to be the Joker, because the Joker is supposed to be real thin. Beyond that, he's clearly having the time of his life. He's doing a good Joker. Is it, in my opinion, the best Joker? No, but it's still fun. He still did a good job with it, and you can see it in his performance.
You can see him walk past the aforementioned picture. Spotting this Easter egg is sure to leave you smiling. Avengers...
Wait, I thought he painted the boy in blue. I thought he actually painted it with a paintbrush later during this scene. Maybe I'm wrong. And yes, Shadows, I agree. Heath Ledger and Mark Hamill are my two favorite iterations of the Joker.
Picture. Spotting this Easter egg is sure to leave you smiling. Avengers Endgame, Captain Roscoe.
Could be Zeb.
Spanning over a decade, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is bursting with more Easter eggs than it is superheroes. And with a fanbase as big as Marvel's, internet detectives are soon able to uncover every hidden detail each entry has to offer. However, there are some references that are even too obscure for the most seasoned comic book fan, with one such reference being in Avengers Endgame. In the sequence in which Steve Rogers and Tony Stark time travel back to the 1970s to get their hands on some pin particles, the pair disguise themselves in military uniforms. Take a closer look at the name tag on Cap's outfit, and you'll discover the uniform belongs to someone named Roscoe. Of course, no detail in this series is accidental. It transpires that Roscoe is a character who appeared in the comics in the 70s, who took up the mantle.
Wait. Now, wait. The scene is no longer the same, just as the Captain America before you is no longer the same. We're now in New York, and where once the person beneath the bright blue cowl here would have been Steve Rogers, and now the Nomad is currently a happy-lucky kid called Roscoe. I was not aware of this. Yeah, that is a deep cut.
America when Rogers retired. Unfortunately, it wasn't a happy ending for this short-lived substitute, who was soon dispatched by Red Skull, who believed he was Rogers. It's pretty bleak for an MCU Easter egg, but at least this obscure hero got some recognition. Aladdin, Hidden Mickey. When it comes to hiding Easter eggs in their films, Disney are the true masters of the craft. From including familiar faces as cameos across their filmography, to making references to their other films, Disney fans always know to keep their eyes
Aladdin
peeled. In addition to the cameos and sly winks, Disney films are renowned for featuring hidden Mickeys throughout their entire...
Wait, hold up. Okay, yeah, okay, that is. It's sideways, here's the face and here's the ears. Okay.
Mickeys throughout their entire animated movie catalogue. The distinctive symbol of their mousy mascot, these three conjoined circles are easily associated with the studio,
that one's a stretch.
Incredibly difficult to spot in their films.
Okay, I'm sorry. Some of these? No. That is not Mickey. I'm sorry, even if you squint, this is not the Mickey symbol. It's not. This is literally just a reach. Like, yes, you do see, like, some Mickey. You do see, like, the Mickey symbol in some Disney films. You know, animations? Sure. Give us actual ones, though. This is not one of them. And, like, yeah, there's the whole thing of on the cover art for the cover art for the Little Mermaid has you know, a dick. The twinkling lights on the city of Atlantis are like shaped like a dick. Oh yeah, I know.
Films. Blending seamlessly into backgrounds, these Easter eggs have appeared on bubbles, Dalmatian patterns, and
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? I mean, maybe the bubbles, but maybe
have appeared on bubbles, Dalmatian patterns, and furniture. Finding any of the...
Okay, first and foremost, if you're gonna point out the Dalmatians, why are you gonna point out this one instead of this one that looks much more Mickey-like? This one looks a hell of a lot more like Mickey than this one does. Why are you gonna point out this one? Yeah, this one is far more Mickey, if anything.
Finding any of them is an accomplishment in itself, but arguably the hardest one comes at the ending of Aladdin, when Jasmine's tiger Raja is transformed back to his original size. In an Easter egg that is the definition of blink and you'll miss it, pausing this sequence at just the right moment will reveal the tiger with two large round black ears on his head. This symbol can
Yeah, I can see. I could see this one because look at the difference in the. It's not even so much the ears; it's the eyes. Look at the difference in the eyes here and here. Yeah, I can. I will give them. This one I will give. I will give them that. This one does look like Mickey and the nose. Yeah, I will give them that. This absolutely does look like Mickey.
will reveal the tiger with 2 large round black ears on his head. This symbol can also be found at the start of the film, hidden in the background when Aladdin meets Jasmine for the first time at the market. The Rocky Horror Picture Show Easter Egg Hunt. It's outrageously campy, full of ridiculously catchy songs, and is cited as kickstarting the midnight movie trend. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is the very definition of cult classic. And if there wasn't another reason to owe a debt to this film's influence in cinema, it's believed that this is the film where the term Easter egg originated. The story goes that the cast and crew of the film took part in an actual Easter egg hunt one day before shooting, and weren't able to find all of the eggs before filming. Consequently, a total of 3 literal Easter eggs can be found in the film. There's one visible under the throne of sweet transvestite Dr. Frankenfurter, one in the place of a lamp in the main room, and the third can be glimpsed as Brad and Janet use the elevator to travel to Frank's lab. Next time you watch this film, as well as singing along to all your favourite songs, see if you can spot those Easter eggs the film's crew couldn't.
Rhodey's Iron Man ringtone. Iron Man. Back in the swinging 60s, Marvel launched its very first TV show in the form of the Marvel superhero.
This one I caught when I first saw the Iron Man movie. How many of you caught that? Yeah, I know, very odd voice transition, isn't it? But that's okay. We both. How many of you know what they're about to talk about? It's in the first Iron Man movie when Rhodey answers his LG chocolate phone, because that's what it was. I think it was an LG chocolate. It plays. I'm gonna beat them to the punch because it's my stream and I can do that. The music that plays, the ringtone on Rhodey's phone, is the OG Iron Man cartoon theme song. I probably butchered that, but yeah, it's the old school cartoon theme song for Iron Man.
As was mandate for superhero TV shows, the theme tune was a grade A bona fide jam, and was so good that it made a cameo in the 2008 Iron Man movie. After destroying a terrorist group's weapons, the old LED face that is Robert Downey Jr. gets the attention of the US military, and tries to get good pal and apparent face changer James Rose to calm things down by giving him a quick ding-a-ling. And what's his ringtone? Well, wouldn't you know, it's a beepy boopy version of the 60s TV show theme.
George R.R. Martin's Turtle Sigil Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones' opening title sequence is so visually majestic, you might even be tempted to sit through it every time you watch an episode. And eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that each credited name is accompanied by a distinctive sigil. While these sigils are recycled through the cast and crew, several of them have a specific meaning for the person they're assigned to. For instance, the editor will always have a sigil bearing 2 swords, referring of course to the cuts that form the cornerstone of editing. But the most personal sigil is that given to Thrones creator George R.R. Martin. And while at first glance it might look like the D-pad for a video game controller, it's actually supposed to be a turtle shell. In Martin's own words,
because he's so fucking slow to finish the last book. That's why he gets the sigil of a turtle. Because he's so fucking slow. He's so slow, it's never gonna get done.
The turtle has a very special significance to his early life, and has said that, turtles have always been my sigil, I suppose. When I was a kid growing up in Bayonne, New Jersey, I lived in a federal housing project, and we were not allowed to have a dog or cat. The only pets I could have were turtles, so I had an entire toy castle filled with dime store turtles. I gave them all names. And since they were living in a toy castle, I decided they were all knights and kings. And I made up stories about how they killed each other and betrayed each other and fought for the kingdom. So Game of Thrones actually began with turtles. I decided later to recast it with actual human beings. Though the turtle sigil is all
I like my version better. I think my version is more fitting.
also used for a few other crew members, it means so much more to Martin, Lord of Turtleton.
Tarantino's Simpsons cameo, Kill Bill Volume 1. Quentin Tarantino loves to reference other media in his movies, but in the case of Kill Bill Volume 1, he got a little self-reflexive about it. In the memorable early scene where the bride battles one of her nemesis, Vernita Green, Green ends up retrieving a gun from a box of her daughter's cereal in an attempt to get the drop on the bride, but it's to no avail. Believe it or not though, this is actually a nod to an episode of The Simpsons.
What?
That being Season 8's Simpsons Califragilistic Expiala Annoyed Grunt Ocious. Anyway, the episode features a hilarious scene where an itchy and scratchy episode called Reservoir Cats has been guest directed by Quentin Tarantino. In the scene, the director appears, albeit not played by himself sadly, to talk about the ubiquity of violence in society, noting, quote, "It's even in breakfast cereals, man." Tarantino played this off quite beautifully and slyly then in Kill Bill's first volume. If you're somehow not convinced it was anything more than a mere coincidence, then consider that Tarantino actually wore a t-shirt depicting the Simpsons scene in question while doing press for Kill Bill Volume 2. Genius.
Okay, that is a seriously deep cut. Like, that is a serious deep cut for that scene. I mean, I guess it's kind of me, but the fact that he, like, literally one line in the Simpsons thing, where he's like, "It's even in cereals now, man." And that was the reference for why what's-her-name had a gun in the cereal box that she tried to kill the bride with? Yeah, well, seriously obscure and a super deep cut that honestly would not surprise me. Yeah, like, I think that, I would think that the box saying kaboom and having a gun inside is more of a quote-unquote Easter egg than referencing his, like, his thing on The Simpsons. Honestly.
Stan Lee, X-Men. Though a Stan Lee cameo barely qualifies as an Easter egg these days, given that everyone knows who
Correct,
he
it
is,
does
back
not.
in the year 2000, things were quite different, and Lee was still mostly revered only in the circle of cult fandom. And so it flew over the heads of more casual audience members that Stan the Man made one of his first movie cameos in the original X-Men, appearing roughly
it did
halfway
not.
through the
It did not. I will tell you this right the fuck now. It did not go over people's heads that Stan Lee appeared here. Trust me. This was the X-Men franchise. Okay? This was, this is when a mainstream superhero team was getting a legit big budget film for the first time. Every single person in this audience was a massive Marvel and X-Men fan. They saw this immediately. Okay? They saw Stan Lee immediately. Well, that's the thing, Brevin. Casuals probably would not have been seeing it. Like, again, this is back when superhero movies did not cater to casuals. That casuals did not show up to superhero movies back when the first X-Men movie came out. It was all X-Men fans, of which there was a tremendous amount. So yeah, but most people, some people might not have, because, just because you're a Marvel or an X-Men fan doesn't mean you know what Stan Lee looks like. So certainly some of them might have missed him, but I guarantee you, the majority of the audience instantly recognized, oh, Stan Lee's doing a cameo. Cool.
film as a hot dog vendor who witnesses Senator Kelly washing up ashore. But Lee's first Marvel cameo almost never happened, as revealed by the film's co-writer and executive producer Tom DeSanto following Lee's death. DeSanto, Bryan Singer and co. were adamant.
By the way, I'll also just point out the X-Men movie is the reason why Anna Paquin had something of a career. This X-Men movie is the reason why she was cast as Sookie in True Blood. That's like probably the only, I'd say that's a major reason why. Like, she played Rogue, who is Southern. And yeah, Revan, 100%. X-Men is what put fucking Hugh Jackman, it basically, it lit the fuse that rocketed him to stardom. 100%, without question. This is what this is what basically propelled him into the stratosphere in terms of stardom. 100%.
Meant that Lee would make a cameo appearance in X-Men, but after everything had been organized, Lee actually tried to drop out at the last minute, having received pressure from Marvel executives not to film the scene. DeSanto told Lee, "Stan, you are Marvel. You have to be in this movie." And when Lee decided that he didn't want to travel to Vancouver for filming, DeSanto even arranged for the scene to be filmed in Malibu instead. Seemingly out of excuses, Lee relented and filmed the cameo, and then stuck around for a while to hang out with the cast and crew. And like that, history was made, but only barely.
Yeah, I agree with you, Grey Matter. I thought Anna Paquin as Rogue was only she was basically, her whole purpose in X-Men was to be like a damsel in distress. Which sucks because Rogue in the comics is a kick-ass character. Like, even before she stole the powers of Ms. Marvel and got her super strength and invulnerability, and all she had was her power absorption, Rogue was still a kick-ass character even before then. And they literally turned her into nothing but a damsel in distress in the original X-Men movies. It was incredibly disappointing. What they did is because, for whatever reason, they didn't have Jubilee. Yes, Rogue was a redhead. She was a redhead with a white skunk stripe in her hair, Revan. And what they did is they basically, hello! Hi, Jayden! Thank you! Thank you so much, Jayden, for the dono! Thank you very, very much. But I firmly believe that they should have, like, because what they did is they basically put Rogue into the same kind of, like, position character-wise that Jubilee was in during this point in time, because when the comics were out, yeah. Exactly, Grey Mare. That's where I'm going. When the X-Men movie came out, at that point in time in comics, Jubilee was basically like, kind of like a daughter to Wolverine. Wolverine was watching over Jubilee like she was sort of like a daughter to him. And they did that with Rogue in this movie, probably because nobody knows who the fuck Jubilee is. Rogue is more of a core X-Man, and that's why they did it. Well, David, Rogue is one of the main characters of the X-Men team. She was actually a leader for a while. She has the ability to absorb people's memories, and if they're mutants, their powers, and she also has, like, super strength and super speed. So, but she didn't in the X-Men movie. So, yeah, and then they added Jubilee later. Well, they added Jubilee in the first X-Men movie. But she was just like it was a silent, like, bit part. So Jubilee was in the actual X-Men movie, but she was a bit part. They actually had her as kind of a character. And again, this is where they fuck with the timelines. They had Jubilee as a character in, like, the old X-Men series, starting with, like, First Class. And it was like, it's all just fucked up. And Akuden, thank you for the follow.
Peabody and Sherman. Back to the Future. Back to the Future has so
With
much
bare
fun with its
skin, for
time
a
travel
matter,
that
not
there's
just
literally
hands.
tons of little in-jokes. For example, they knock over a tree which turns Twin Pines Mall into Lone Pine Mall. Marty accidentally gives
Yep.
Goldie Wilson the idea to become mayor. It just goes on and on. But there's also an awesome
Yep.
little nod to one of the director's favourite cartoons. The farmer who owns the 1 or 2 pines land is named Peabody. Now that just sounds like a good name for an old curmudgeonly farmer, but the family's son who mistakes Marty and the DeLorean for an alien invasion is revealed to be called Sherman in the credits, which means that
Okay, that's cute. That's cute. I like that. Sure, yeah. Ma Peabody, Paul Peabody, Peabody daughter, and Sherman Peabody. Okay, that's cute. I like that one. That is a cute little Easter egg.
credits, which means this is a lovely reference for avid-eyed fans and ties two of the best series about air quotes f***ing with time together forever.
Yeah.
The title decays more every season, The Walking Dead. In an ingeniously subtle move, the opening
Does it?
titles of zombie apocalypse series The Walking Dead quite aptly feature the show's logo becoming increasingly decayed and dilapidated with each passing season. And eventually the
Okay. Like, I stopped watching Walking Dead after I think season 3? I think it was season 3. I stopped watching Walking Dead. It got boring. It was the same fucking thing over and over and over again. Like, every season was literally the same thing. The group finds somewhere to, the group finds somewhere to hide out, and there's a big old thing. Rick makes a speech. They do the thing. They go find another place. They hide out in that place. They're hanging out there. The dead there's a big event. Rick makes a speech. They all come together. They do it was a repeat over and over and over again. It was just a question of which one of them was gonna die that season. So it was like I don't honestly think I think it was like season 3 where I was just like, I am bored. I'm done watching the show. And I like most multi-seasonal TV shows that I've ever watched are done for me at around season 3 or season 4. Season 3 or season 4 is basically when the majority of any multi-season show is just I'm over it. At that point, it needs to stop because then it's getting boring.
The distinctive typeface goes from looking relatively fresh to positively desiccated. AMC did change things up with the recent 9th and 10th season, however, by giving the logo a stone makeover, covered with greenery to suggest the untamed new frontier awaiting the show's characters. Who knew you could do so much with just 3 words, eh?
Proudfoot puts his feet up. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Peter Jackson has freely admitted that he drew significant inspiration from the 1978 animated version of The Lord of the Rings when creating his live-action iteration. And one shot in particular is a loving homage that only die-hard Rings fans are likely to catch. And to be fair, I did not catch this because the animated version of The Lord of the Rings scared me silly when I was a kid. Anyway, during Bilbo's party sequence in The Fellowship of the Ring, there's a brief but memorable moment where we witness a hobbit with his feet up shouting proud feet. Though the basis for this is taken from J.R.R. Tolkien's source material, the precise framing and composition of the shot are directly inspired by the same sequence in the 78 animation. On the director's commentary for Fellowship, Jackson notes in particular that he loved how Proudfoot was depicted from a lower angle in the animated film, which he called brilliant.
The post-credits rickroll. Ralph breaks the internet. If you stick around for the credits of Ralph Breaks the Internet, you'll be tempted with the premise of a teaser trailer for Frozen 2. After about 3 seconds of watching a snowflake fall, however, the scene jarringly shifts to, yes, a rickroll, with Ralph John C. Reilly reenacting the iconic music video of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up for a solid 30 seconds. The film's...
Okay, that's fun. That is, like, I never saw the second Wreck-It Ralph, but... That is a hell of a lot. That looks like a hell of a lot of fun to do that. Yeah. That's cool.
Co-director Phil Johnson stated in interviews that the gag was first conceived ages ago, but they simply assumed there wasn't time or resources to actually include it in the final film. Johnson elaborated, "Then we pitched it to someone and they're like, oh, you've got to do that. It was one of the last things we did." But there was another hurdle beyond time. John C. Reilly was on vacation when the scene was being assembled. Ever the sport though, Reilly took a boat to New York, quickly performed his take in a recording booth, and then immediately returned back to his family. What a guy. Producer Clark Spencer said, "Because we were in that time constraint of, if we're going to do it, we need to record it now and get it into animation immediately, he did it, and the animators pulled it off."
Alien displays,
Cool.
Blade Runner. Ridley Scott might be in what some deem to
What?
term the promises that never deliver stage of his career, but one cannot deny that Alien and Blade Runner, the second and third films he ever directed, are anything but genre-defining movies. It's a link that Scott obviously wanted to mention, as if you look at the console displays for the docking of a spinner and the undocking sequence for the Nostromo, you'll see that they use the same interface. Now, some might argue that this may have been a money-saving measure, but Scott has gone out of his way to pack in tons of references to other films in his own film, so this could well be one of the first.
Maybe. I'm kind of inclined to think that it was, I'm kind of inclined to think it's more along the lines of budget constraints and they just had to use this, they had to use it because they were, But yeah, he will tie the universes together. Although, wait. Well, maybe. I'm not sure. And yeah, you're right, Robin. Like, reusing assets from other films is nowhere near new.
The first.
The Facebook Russia scandal, Silicon Valley. Trust great American satirist Mike Judge to include an hilariously current reference to contemporary politics in the opening title sequence of his hit show Silicon Valley. Observant fans were extremely amused to discover that the show's distinctive animated credits had been subtly altered to reflect a recent political.
Did you guys see it? Did you just see it? Okay.
The show's distinct.
Watch the Facebook sign here. Just keep an eye on it.
Distinctive animated credits had been subtly altered to reflect a recent political scandal involving Facebook, after it was alleged that Russian agents took.
Did you see it? That the lettering changed to Cyrillic?
Advantage of Facebook user data to influence the outcome of the 2016 American presidential election, the intro was edited to have the Facebook logo transformed into a string of Cyrillic letters for roughly half a second. In case you're wondering, it doesn't in fact spell Facebook in Russian, but it nevertheless got the intended point across in a visually immediate way, for those who actually caught it anyway.
37 Dicks, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Much like Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, this was referenced in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Right? Okay. I actually saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back like a long time ago. Like, okay. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is effectively speaking sort of like a sequel to Clerks. And like, well, and honestly, like Jay and Silent Bob are sort of like, they are two characters that span across a couple different franchises done by Kevin Smith. The Clerks franchise, then you had the Mallrats, and then you had Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And like their characters and Dogma. Yeah, like everything Kevin Smith has done back during this time, these two characters spanned throughout it. And that's okay. It's okay, Silver. Like, most people, I think a lot of people haven't. I'm pretty sure Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back didn't do that great as a film. I think a lot of people probably didn't see it. And then Dogma came out. Everybody saw Dogma. But I forgot that there was a reference to 37 in this. Because the reference is that the Dante's girlfriend, remember we saw the thing about Clerks? A couple nights ago, we saw the thing about the how Clerks ended, how it was supposed to have a much darker ending. The shop clerk Dante, his girlfriend, there was a bit of a running gag in there that his girlfriend had admitted to Dante that she had blown 37 guys, and that became a running thing for like a good chunk of the rest of the movie, where even like one character like off screen like actually yells out 37. So it was like a running joke that Dante was so like incredibly upset that his girlfriend had sucked 37 dicks. I forgot there was a reference to it in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Kevin Smith has always been one to indulge his inner pop culture nerd and hasn't ever been beyond some playful self-referencing. Well, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is surely one of the most meta movies ever made, even for Smith standards, but between the more obvious callbacks to the prior films in his Askew-niverse, there's one shockingly slight gag that appears on screen for just a second or two. After Justice and her cat thief pals have ripped off the Diamond Exchange, we see them celebrating at their apartment where a banner can fleetingly be seen that reads, "Congratulations to us on our 37th heist." This all seems totally unremarkable until you consider what the number 37 actually means within the pantheon of Smith's work. His iconic debut Clerks features an immortal gag in which Dante learns that his girlfriend Veronica has performed oral sex on 37 men, to which a customer legendary inquires, "In a row?" Consequently, this acts as a lovely...
Not only that, when she's even better, when she is leaving the store, when I first heard this gag, it made me laugh. When they have a fight about this, obviously. She's leaving the store, and Dante yells out, "Try not to suck any dick on the way through the parking lot." And then clearly some guy went, huh? And started walking towards his girlfriend, and Dante's like, hey, you, no, come here, no, you. Consecutively out. It's I think it was before she hooked up with Dante, she had sucked off a total of 37 guys.
Callback to that.
Richard Branson's cameo, Casino Royale. During the first act Miami airport sequence, audiences who kept their eyes peeled might notice a not terribly subtle cameo from Virgin founder Richard Branson, who's seen getting a pat down from security personnel. Fun fact, when the film was shown on competing airlines, both Branson and any clips of his Virgin planes are cut from the film entirely. How petty. But Branson's cameo was actually the result of a quid pro quo between the business magnate and Bond producers, who were caught in a bit of a pinch. While shooting the exterior airport sequence in Prague, the production desperately needed a plane, and Branson agreed to lend one of his aircraft to the production, saving them a considerable expense in the process. Producer Barbara Broccoli said he was very supportive of us and he helped us out when we needed a plane in Prague. But Branson's aid didn't come totally free, as he consequently asked the filmmakers if he could have a quick cameo in recompense. They duly complied, of course, and Broccoli added, he had a ton of fun and he was a trooper, and it was a long night.
George Harrison, Life of Brian. Life of Brian, Monty Python's controversy-laden second film, is full of hilarious moments that come so fast and hit so heavily that they put modern comedies to shame. Just before he's captured by the Romans, Brian is introduced to Mr. Papadopoulos, who, and this should be kind of obvious given his incredibly Scouse accent, is played by none other than George Harrison, aka the former Beatle. Harrison's cameo is not just a nod to British pop culture, but actually a huge thank you from the Monty Python crew, as Harrison financed the film and even mortgaged his own house in the process. So without this man, we would not only be shy of some of the best music this side of Vanilla Ice and Rebecca Black, but we'd also be left without the Bible-baiting laugh riot of a film. So thank you, that man.
Surprise Jimmy Pesto, Bob's Burgers. Though the intro to Bob's Burgers includes a ton of variable elements, namely the van which pulls up and also the store on the right, there was one minor revision made to the title sequence in its third season which many fans never noticed. Once the van pulls up, a figure is faintly reflected in its window, and if you squint hard enough, you might notice that it's none other than Bob's pesky rival Jimmy Pesto, who runs the rival pizzeria across the street. So we're effectively seeing the show's intro sequence play out from the same perspective as Jimmy himself. Neato.
The Tunnel at Midnight, Knives Out. Rian Johnson sure has come a long way since making his feature directorial debut with 2005's cult classic neo-noir Brick, having earned his blockbuster wings with Star Wars The Last Jedi, scoring a Best Original...
What? I need to hear that again.
Noir Brick, having earned his blockbuster wings with Star Wars The Last Jedi.
I'm sorry? Did you say blockbuster wings? In regard to the movie that literally started the downfall of the Star Wars franchise? Because if that's what you meant by franchise buster, sure, I'm on board. Blockbuster? Oh, hell no. I don't fucking think so. You can twist that into a Peruvian fucking knot all you want. It ain't gonna make it any different. No, I am not having it. I am cool with that the fuck out.
Scoring a Best Original Screenplay Oscar nomination for Knives Out, and recently netting himself at least $100 million through a deal with Netflix to produce 2 Knives Out sequels. Despite his incredible career trajectory, Johnson clearly hasn't forgotten his roots though, as Knives Out contains a blink-and-you'll-miss-it tip of the hat to his debut. When Marta and Ransom are caught up in a high-speed chase with the cops, Marta drives her car down a tight alleyway. However, the left-hand side of the brick wall contains a distinctive piece of graffiti, namely what appears to be the letter A with a notable slant to it. In actual fact, this is the symbol of a tunnel, a clue which appears memorably in Brick, as protagonist Brendan follows it in order to track down his missing girlfriend.
Spider-Man's Christmas album, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is jam-packed with more sly Easter eggs than just about any movie in recent memory, though surely one of the most memorable has to be the quick mention of Spider-Man recording a Christmas album, A Very Spidey Christmas. If you stick around for the film's end credits, you'll even hear Chris Pine, who plays one of the film's several Peter Parkers, singing the tune Spidey Bells. And better yet, Sony actually went to the effort of commissioning and releasing a 5-track EP, with songs recorded by Shanique Moore, Jake Johnson, and Yoma Taccone. Amazing. The whole Christmas album skit was added late in production when the filmmakers were in London supervising the completion of the film's musical score. One of the team had the lightbulb idea to compose a holiday track, and when writer-producer Phil Lord asked Chris Pine if he could sing, having apparently not seen the actor in Into the Woods, Pine replied, "Are you kidding me?" before launching into a sing-song. The stunt producers and directors immediately set in motion plans for not just the gag, but what would eventually become the EP.
Now, again, I wouldn't qualify that as an Easter egg. They literally commissioned Chris Pine to sing the song because of that joke. So, I have a hard time calling this an actual Easter egg.
Actually become the EP.
The Shining is everywhere. Toy Story 1 and 3. The Shining is one of my favourite films. I think it's the desire to kill small, bowl-headed kids that really speaks to me. And many of you might notice that the carpet in Sid's house in the original Toy Story looks remarkably like that of the Overlook hotels. It's a nice, if odd, nod to the classic psychological horror, but it's not the only one. In Toy Story 3, the number 237, which is linked to the Overlook's most sexy, creepy room, is everywhere. The garbage truck at the start has a license plate which reads RM237. Trixie's dinosaur chat friend uses online tag Velocestar237, and one of Sunnyside's security cameras is labelled Overlook R237.
They love 237,
so,
referencing
what's the link between these films? Is the Barbie house elevator going to spew a load of Ribena-coloured blood? Is Woody going to be revealed as a man whose spirit is trapped inside a doll? Is Buzz going to morph into a giant manta ray at the end of the series and fly into space? Because that's the ending of the Stephen King book. Well, it turns out that it's none of those. It was just because it was the editor's favourite film. Okay.
Observers are here. Fringe. Fringe creator J.J. Abrams is a lover of the mystery box. So it's no surprise that his penchant for sneaky trickery extends to the show's visually striking title sequence.
Okay. I've seen this. I've seen this series. This was a good fucking TV show. For the first couple seasons. It Fringe fell apart the last 1 or 2 seasons. But the first and second season of Fringe I thought were great. It's basically it was like a boogeyman of the week kind of sci-fi thing. It had oh fuck, what's his name? He was from Lord of the Rings. Oh my god. I can't believe we're forgetting. Chat, help me out here. Who was the actor? No, the Mad King from Two Towers. Or no, sorry. The Mad King from Return of the King. The actor. God, what was his name? Fuck, I can't forget. I'm forgetting his name. Oh, John Noble. Thank you, John Noble. Yes, yeah, it starred John Noble, who is his Walter. He was like a mad scientist who pretty much had lost his mind. He was fucking phenomenal in the show. John Noble was fucking amazing. And then Josh something. He was on Dawson's Creek. He played John Noble's Walter's son, and he was basically like he was dealing with fringe science, and so it was sort of like Stuart of Gardner. It was sort of like a bad guy of the week kind of thing. And like they would like go into this fringe science stuff to try and figure out the problem and solve the case. And like John Noble, he was literally a mad scientist, and he played it so fucking great. And for the first 2 seasons, it was a lot of fun, and then it kind of just went off the rails, and like the last 2 seasons were just not great, unfortunately.
Now, this one is really tough to spot. Just after the words dark matter appear on the screen, there is a momentary flash of light. And if you can scan through the following frames at low speed, you'll find that there's a single frame containing the handwritten words, "Observers are here."
Interesting.
The observers are, of course, the show's shadowy antagonists. And so, right from the show's very first episode, Abrams is subliminally warning the audience to be wary of them. There's virtually no chance of catching the Easter egg when viewed at full speed. So you're better off slowing the clip down and crossing your fingers that you can catch it.
The Thanos Copter Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame
No,
introduced a new weapon for Mad Titan Thanos, that being a double-edged sword which, appropriately enough, was perfectly balanced as all things should be. But the weapon's appearance is also a sly nod to one of the more infamous aspects of Thanos' comic book lore, the Thanos Copter, and no, I am not joking. The Thanos Copter was a real chopper used by Thanos in the 1970s comic book series Spidey Super Stories. The blade in Endgame then resembles the rotor blade of the Thanos Copter, and this was confirmed to have been an intentional Easter egg by none other than Thanos creator Jim Starlin. He said, quote, "The one thing they did, and I will never forgive the Russos and Marcus McFeely, was they brought that weapon he had in, which is inspired from the Thanos helicopter, which most everybody had almost forgotten all about," end quote. He went on to say how in the comics that Thanos would actually use this chopper to go from bank to bank on a robbing spree, and he even had his own name written all over it just to make sure everyone knew that it was him.
Stephen Shin, Aquaman. Randall Park has a tiny cameo in the main Aquaman movie as comic book character Stephen Shin, a genius marine biologist who also happens to be a conspiracy theorist. Shin then reappears in the film's mid-credits scene, rescuing a wounded Black Manta and agreeing to help him find Aquaman, in exchange for information about Atlantean technology. Shin's scenes weren't shot during principal photography, and some 6 months after the main shoot wrapped, director James Wan decided to add the character at the tail end of reshoots, clearly in order to more decisively tease a sequel. Though Shin's appearance was actually shot a good while before Aquaman hit cinemas, considering that the last few months of post-production were devoted almost exclusively to honing the visual effects, One only barely got shin in the movie before it was picture-locked.
The origins of Captain America, the Incredible Hulk. Have you ever sat down and just wondered why Bruce Banner was doing his experiments in the first place? Like, he clearly wasn't just trying to make a new grass fertilizer that went wrong. In the comics and across his many movies, it does vary, but in the Incredible Hulk, we're told he's trying to replicate a bioforce enhancement research project developed during World War II. Now, at this point, the first Avenger was still 3 years away, so few in the audience picked up on it. But this means the Hulk is a failed attempt to mimic Captain America. It doesn't just...
Well, yeah, this was for maybe normie audiences or for casuals, they could have missed that. Comic book fans knew about this. They knew about this for a long time, that Bruce Banner had been trying to replicate the super soldier serum. I mean, Tanashi, it'd be a failure in that the Hulk was an unstoppable monster instead of just elevating a person to the pinnacle of human peak physicality. So, no, well, David, I knew comics. I have not read comics for a good many years now. I stopped reading comics a while ago. But when I was young, oh yes, I was big time into comics. Big time. Particularly X-Men. X-Men, I did not really get into anything outside of the X-Men. The X-Men was my wheelhouse. So I didn't really know much outside of the X-Men, but I did love my comics.
End there, though. The mid-credit sequence featuring Tony Stark has him state that the Super Soldier project was put on ice for a reason. Ice? Well, now, Marvel, you deserve a little clap, as not only is that a lovely little nod, but also a terrible joke, and I'm all about the terrible jokes.
The price of Maggie, The Simpsons. The Simpsons boast one
Oh,
of the
yeah.
most iconic TV intros ever, and as such, also plays host to one of the greatest Easter eggs in TV history. When the opening sequence shows Maggie Simpson being accidentally scanned at the supermarket, the cash register reads her price as $847.63. This might seem totally random, except the number was in fact the average monthly cost of raising a child in America in 1989. Curiously, this figure was changed for the show's 20th season, when The Simpsons finally took the leap into the HD era. From this point, Marge's shopping is initially scanned at $243.26, before the inclusion of Maggie doubles it to $486.52. Presumably, the joke is that having a child doubles your outgoings. Given that seeing the current monthly cost of raising a child would probably be enough to give most of us a giant migraine,
clever.
It's probably for the best that Matt Groening and co. didn't actually give the titles a factual update.
Yeah, but you know what? That is very clever. And you know, Matt Groening has always was really clever. I mean, for God's sake, how many times have we had the Simpsons predicted the future effect because of Matt Groening? Because, you know, the man was fucking clever. He was, and God help us, he did predict a lot.
The punch-drunk love poster, 50 First Dates. Though Adam Sandler's hit rom-com 50 First Dates isn't exactly a movie you're encouraged to pay extreme attention to, those who kept their eyes peeled in the final moments can uncover a most unexpected surprise. When Sandler's protagonist Henry gets his big romantic reconciliation with amnesiac love interest Lucy, he's surrounded by paintings and drawings of himself created by Lucy. One of the fleeting art pieces on display, though, is a painting which bears a strong resemblance to the memorable poster art for Sandler's 2002 dramedy Punch Drunk Love, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And the similarity itself is clearly too distinct to be a mere coincidence.
Howard the Duck, Avengers Endgame. If you keep your eyes very peeled during the final battle of Avengers Endgame, you might spot a special figure among the impossibly huge army battling Thanos. That's right, Howard the Duck is visible amid the heroes for a hot second, toting a machine gun and...
How is this an Easter egg? Howard the Duck was introduced back during Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I will back it up. I'm blocking it. There's Howard the Duck right there. There he was. But it's like, this isn't exactly an Easter egg because, yeah, every fucking hero shows up for this, and Howard the Duck was introduced back during Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's not like, okay, Howard the Duck had never shown up in the MCU before, so all of a sudden he's showing up in Avengers Endgame. It's not an Easter egg at all.
For a hot second, toting a machine gun and seemingly confirming his status as an Avenger. This follows the Marvel character's 2 prior appearances in both Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and serves as a hilarious payoff to his most unexpected 3-movie arc. Given the utterly insane amount of work that clearly went into Endgame's final battle, it's not terribly surprising that something as frivolous as Howard the Duck's cameo wasn't added until the very end of production. Co-director Joe Russo said of Howard's appearance, "It was one of the last things we did. We were sitting at VFX and I was watching that shot of everyone coming out of the portals, and I was like, God, it would be so awesome to have a Howard the Duck cameo here. And I said to the VFX team, is there any way in hell you could pull this off? And that they clearly did."
Butch and John McClane have the same taste in music. Die Hard with a Vengeance,
What?
Pulp Fiction. In Die Hard with a Vengeance, when explaining to Samuel L. Jackson's character Zeus why he's a little out of shape, Bruce Willis as John McClane explains that he's been spending his days smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. Now you'll be forgiven for not knowing this, but it's actually a line from Flowers on the Wall by the Statler Brothers. However, this isn't just a little in-joke for country music fans, because a year earlier, Bruce Willis had starred in Tarantino's seminal sophomore feature film, Pulp Fiction. Renowned for his musical choices, Tarantino also featured Flowers on the Wall, using it to great ironic effect as the line "It's good to see you" is delivered just as Butch spots crime lord Marcellus Wallace. But the link isn't just that, as listening to the song while driving away from Vincent Vega's murder scene, Butch is singing along, particularly relishing the same line that McClane quoted in Die Hard 3. With Jackson and Willis appearing in both films, this is a brilliantly subtle link between the two.
All the same.
Okay, I need... It's Tarantino, and Tarantino loves his fucking deep cuts. That is a deep cut. But he is Tarantino. And he loves to do that, so okay.
Safe combinations. Banshee. As gloriously trashy as Banshee might have been, it also boasted one of the most intriguing, persistent Easter eggs across its run. In addition to the Polaroid images featured in the intro changing every episode according to what's happening to the show's characters, the safe combination which the dial stops spinning at also changes between episodes. Typically, these numbers relate to numerical facts about their given season. For example, the first season's numbers were 42, 15, 68, which accounted for the 42 deaths in the season, the 15 years the protagonist spent in prison, and the biblical passage Revelation 6:8, which was quoted by one character during the season. Also, these sequences could be inputted on a now-defunct Banshee website for additional narrative information. Talk about deceptively smart, eh?
Sonic's idle animation, Sonic the Hedgehog. While far from being a perfect movie, Sonic the Hedgehog was a shockingly solid video game adaptation, proving far more reverent to the iconic source material than most of the modern games. However, one of the more low-key brilliant Easter eggs is one only those who've invested their fair share of time in the Sonic games are likely to catch. When Dr. Robotnik fires a salvo of rockets at Sonic near the end of the movie, Sonic uses his super speed to take his time evading the barrage, even tapping his foot impatiently and looking at his imaginary watch while the rockets slowly inch towards it. This is lifted directly from the video games, which since their inception have included a similar idle animation for Sonic whenever players leave the game running without pressing a button for more than a few seconds.
Sonic,
so say
and
what
it is
you want
something
about
Sonic
the movie's
does.
script and human characters, but it has a clear love for the things that made fans fall in
I
love
will
with
say it
Sonic
is cute
for
that they
in
added
the first
that.
place.
Wade's Taylor Swift shirt, Deadpool 2.
Oh,
when
God.
Wade is traipsing around the X-Mansion in the first act, keen-eyed viewers might notice that he's wearing a shirt featuring 2 cats, apparently named Olivia and Meredith. These cats in fact belong to Taylor Swift, and given that Colossus took the liberty of dressing Wade post-suicide attempt, we're left to consider who the items of clothing might actually belong to. Yukio, perhaps? Although who wouldn't be a Swiftie? The shirt was a last-minute idea from Ryan Reynolds, who hadn't quite considered the thorny legal implications of including the image in the film. He said, "We made that t-shirt just because I thought it was funny, and then found out from Fox's legal team that we needed actual written consent from Taylor Swift to use it. She graciously and kindly gave it to us. Everything worked out for the best then, but the director couldn't help but consider the potential for disaster. He said, wouldn't it be cool if she actually said no? Then what would we have done? It would have been awesome."
Bob Kane's drawing. Batman. When you're
I
talking
did not
about
know
comic
about that
creators having
Taylor
appearances
Swift
in
though.
movies based on their characters,
This
the
I
obvious
knew.
name involved
This one I knew. In the original OG 89 Batman, when Knox, the reporter, goes to like the newspaper artist who's supposed to be doing like an artist rendering of Batman, and he gives him, it's basically like a literal bat that's wearing pants. It's actually signed Bob Kane. Bob Kane is the creator of Batman. That's the
is
Easter egg.
Stan
It's actually
Lee.
really
Appearing
cool.
in over 20 Marvel movies, his cameos have become so prominent that even comic book greenhorns can spot them, although it doesn't stop them from pointing it out in the cinema as if it's an in-joke. Yes, I know. Yes, I see him. He's an old man. Yes, I get it. By comparison, DC hasn't really got as much to offer, although Bob Kane's cameo in Tim Burton's Batman
You
is
see?
pretty brilliant. It's not him in person,
This
but
was
a
cool.
drawing mocking the Man-Bat ideas thrown around by Knox the reporter. It's a solid nod, and I just wish there were more things like
Yeah, because it's hard to see, but his signature is right down here. Bob Kane. It's really
ideas
cool.
thrown around by Knox the reporter. It's a solid nod, and I just wish there were more things like this.
The Changing Presidents, Narcos. Though it's fantastic that
Okay.
Netflix allows viewers
I've not
to
seen
skip
this one.
intro sequences with the simple press of a button, it does often mean that you end up missing some of the sneaky ways in which these title sequences switch things up. Take the Netflix original show Narcos, which quite brilliantly changed a minor detail in its credits. The brief shot of a TV featured an image of whichever American president was serving at the time of the episode's real-life setting. In Season 1,
Oh, that's
which
cool.
took place from the late 70s to the early 90s, the TV displays Ronald Reagan, while Season 2 begins
Okay.
in 1992, and so George H.W. Bush replaces Reagan. And as the season finale
neat.
transpires in 1993, Bush is himself replaced by Bill Clinton. It's admittedly a small
Okay, that's
detail, but an awesome catch for sure.
The Disney point,
That's
saving
pretty
Mr.
cool.
Banks. He is
That's
one
pretty
that
neat.
only the most devoted Disney obsessives are ever going to catch. In the Walt Disney biopic Saving Mr. Banks, you might notice that Mr. Disney only ever points with two fingers. This is a reference to the fact that Disney was a prolific smoker throughout his life. But in order to maintain a clean, family-friendly image, you would have these cigarettes airbrushed out of any official photos, seemingly leaving him with a strange two-finger point. In the decades since, this has become known as the Disney point, with Disney theme park employees even
Interesting.
being strictly instructed to always point with two fingers rather than one, because a single finger point might
Interesting.
also be perceived as rude by international guests. Now I'll leave
Okay, this isn't so much of an Easter egg, but just fascinating history. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not really an Easter egg. It's maintaining continuity, and it's giving us some fascinating history that I didn't know, that I was unaware of. So that's actually pretty cool.
this one to the comments. Who had the best point, Walt Disney or Paulie Walnuts?
The AVP Sphere, The Predator. Shane Black's The Predator may be a pretty terrible movie, but it's absolutely packed with nods, references, and Easter eggs pertaining to the prior films in the series. Surely the most eyebrow-raising Easter egg in the entire movie is the surprise presence of the spear from Alien vs. Predator, which was crafted from the tail of a xenomorph and given to Lex by the hero Predator ahead of that film's final battle. In Black's movie, the spear is briefly shown to Casey Brackett early on. Given that AVP was widely loathed by fans of both franchises, it was rather surprising to see Black.
Saying it was loathed, I think, is a stretch. I think fans of Aliens and Predator were disappointed by AVP. I would not say that it was loathed. I thought AVP was fine. I was disappointed in how easily two of the Predators were just killed off. I was very disappointed about that. I thought AVP was a perfectly decent movie. And this may sound controversial, but I actually thought Requiem was actually a decent movie. I was actually like I thought that having the one, hunter predator, like the wolf predator, like going to fucking town against all of the aliens in Requiem, I actually thought that was pretty cool. I thought that the wolf predator in that was pretty badass. Like, it finally, with an AVP style thing, it finally showed how a single predator could take on multiple aliens very, very effectively. And yes, that is Jake Busey in Predators. Yes, that is him. Like, I actually liked Requiem. I actually liked Requiem more than I liked AVP because I liked that the Predator kicked ass so much more in Requiem than they did in AVP. Now, Predators, Shane Black. No. That one was unfortunate. But I think with Shane Black's film, I think there was a fuck ton of studio interference in Predators that caused it to be absolute shit. And yes, they killed a bunch of teenagers and a bunch of pregnant women in Requiem. Yes, they did.
Kinda sorta make it canon once again. It's no secret that the Predator underwent extensive reshoot following disastrous...
This is like, okay, saying like, oh, the spear is here. This isn't an Easter egg. This is literally just continuity. This is the scientific group actually like found the spear at the scene. They obviously got called to the scene of AVP. They located the spear from what's her name? And then you've got these from Requiem. It's like, I'm sorry, it's like this is not an Easter egg. This is just continuing continuity.
Again, it's no secret that the Predator underwent extensive reshoots following disastrous test screenings, with the bulk of the film's third act being reconceived. In slightly less urgent fashion, Black also endeavoured to include more crowd-pleasing Easter eggs, and only then,
True
some
odds,
9
Nashi,
months
that
after
would be.
principal photography
Yes.
wrapped and test audiences had torn it to shreds, was the AVP gag shot and included. Because if anything could improve the test audience scores, it's reminding them of that catastrophe, right?
Everything's an in-joke. King Kong. Before The
what?
Hobbit, King Kong was the biggest example of Peter Jackson's ability to stretch his movies beyond what their source material would allow. I mean, you could almost watch the 1933 original twice in the same time it takes to slog through his 2005 remake. As soon as he could fit the original into this entirely, it's probably why Jackson's feature film contains so many references to it. It'd take too long to list them all, so let's just give you a taste of how rewarding this film is for serious Kong fans. Or as I like to call them, the Throng of Kong. The movie that Denham's filming on the way to Skull Island uses the exact same dialogue as Marion C. Cooper's film. The Faye, who's a size 4, is actress Faye Ray, and the RKO production she's tied up in is the original King Kong feature. Even the T-Rex has the anatomically incorrect 3 fingers on each hand because the original made that error. I tell you, this is less a love letter and more a love novel, complete with a narrated version voiced by myself and backing music by Barry White. Now that's sexy.
All the Stephen King references. Castle Rock. It's not exactly a secret that Castle Rock is a spiritual successor to the works of Stephen King. And while the series itself includes many emphatic links to some of King's most well-known novels,
never saw it,
the
but I heard about
show's intro sequence alone is a veritable treasure trove of Easter eggs and nods to his litany of classic books. To name just a few of the call-outs packed into the 30-second opening, we see 2 pages from King's novel Needful Things. There's a map of Maine, which includes not only Castle Rock, but also Derry. Countless zoomed-in covers of iconic King books. And when J.J. Abrams receives his executive producer credit, the blueprints for the Shawshank Redemption's titular prison are visible. These are just a few of the many dozens of Easter eggs hidden within the titles. And while they might basically announce themselves,
including actors from, although this was before they actually, one of them was Bill Skarsgård was in this, and he ended up playing Pennywise in it. Likewise, Sissy Spacek was in this, and she played Carrie in the OG Carrie film. So you even had actors that are or will be in Stephen King film adaptations.
to hardcore King fans, To the more casual observer, they seem like nothing more than random jargon.
Carl Urban recreates the Doom cover art.
Yes!
Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok
yes!
is one of the most visually
Yes,
creative
yes,
movies
yes,
in the
yes.
entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, which combined with Taika Waititi's general sense of playfulness made it fertile
This was
ground for
fucking
some
awesome.
cheeky, elaborate Easter eggs. Perhaps the best and the sneakiest occurs
Oh,
near the
yeah.
end of the movie when villain Hela's lackey Scourge decides he's had enough and sacrifices himself in order to help the heroes escape Asgard. He doesn't half-arse it either. Scourge leaps down into the Bifrost
He
Bridge
goes full
and starts
fucking Doom
firing
guy,
his guns
baby.
wildly at Hela's army of berserkers, standing atop a pile of their corpses while doing so. It's
Yup.
a gnarly metal as all hell image, and one that might seem oddly familiar to video game fans. That's because, of course, it's a direct nod to the inimitable cover art for
Yes,
the
it
legendary
is.
first-person
Yes, it
shooter
fucking
game
is.
Doom. However, the Easter egg becomes even more meaningful when you consider that Carl
Urban was fucking Doom guy in the schlocky Doom movie. That's why they did it. That's why they did this Easter egg, is because Carl Urban played Doom guy in the Doom movie, and that's why they had him standing on top of bodies, blasting away others, exactly like the cover art from the Doom original game. And someone is even, and you guys can do this after my stream, of course, someone is even taking that scene that they showed of Carl Urban with the twin M16s just blowing bad guys away. They actually remove the original score from the Thor movie and instead overlay it with actual heavy metal music from the Doom game. They actually overlay the Doom, like the heavy metal Doom theme song over the show. It's basically like Doom guy is actually going to fucking on. You can find it on YouTube. All you gotta do is type in Thor the oh fuck, what is it? It's not the Dark World. It's just type in Thor Doom, and you'll find it. Oh, Atsunashi, I do too. I would love him to do a Dread sequel, but I don't think they're... Yeah, Ragnarok. Thank you, so I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, just do a search in YouTube for Thor Ragnarok Doom. You will find it in 2 seconds. It's only like 2-3 minutes. It is fucking awesome.
Urban himself also starred in the 2005 video game adaptation of Doom, playing protagonist John Reaper Grimm, who is basically the movie surrogate for the game's own protagonist, Doom Guy.
Martin Scorsese's cameo, Taxi Driver. Though pretty much anyone with even a passing interest in film
cameo.
knows what Martin Scorsese looks like nowadays, this wasn't always the case. And certainly not in 1976, when he made 2 cameo appearances in his instant classic, Taxi Driver. Scorsese's first cameo is a fleeting background role near the start of the film, but his far more prominent second cameo casts him as a disturbed passenger of Travis Bickle, who spies on his estranged wife and tells Bickle that he's planning to murder her. Charming. Originally, Scorsese was only supposed to have a single cameo, but after the original actor cast to play the creepy passenger was injured on another film, the director had no choice but to play the part himself. Writer Paul Schrader said of the scene, "I was afraid that Marty would see himself and would be so mortified he'd cut himself out of the movie, and I liked the scene, but I was 100% wrong. He saw it, loved it, and kept every single bit of himself in."
Again,
and indeed,
not an
as far as
Easter egg,
director
just
cameos
kind of a
go,
cool
it's
little
absolutely
cameo.
remarkable stuff.
James Bond's white suit, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Did you know that Indiana Jones' father was James Bond? Not in the sense that Sean Connery played his literal dad, but in the fact that the series is directly inspired by the 007 franchise. And what better wink to this fact than this scene in the second movie?
What? Really? Indiana Jones was inspired by James Bond? I had no idea about that. I was completely unaware of this. Okay. Interesting.
The white suit Indy wears
I
at the
can
start
too,
of Temple of
Atsunashi.
Doom is an
I can
exact
too.
copy of the one Bond wears in Goldfinger's pre-credit sequence. And as Connery himself would say, That's outstanding. The whole scene is just Bond-esque, even down to the red carnation on the lapel. And this image of Indy in this iconic suit is one that brings a huge stupid grin to my huge stupid face.
Those 90s cars,
Yes.
that 70s show. That 70s show boasts one of the most creative and memorable title sequences of any sitcom in history, focusing on the cast as they perform a sing-along to the series' title theme while driving around in Eric's car. Despite the show obviously being set during the 1970s, the rear projected footage of traffic in the background hilariously features what is quite clearly the distinctive Ford Explorer, a vehicle which wasn't first manufactured until 1990. While you could argue that this was a legitimate mistake, it feels a bit too obvious to be a genuine gaffe, especially given that several other cars in the intro are also clearly from the 90s. As such, we're going to give the production the benefit of the doubt, and credit it as an Easter egg, because the
My guess is they probably just were short on budget and they just grabbed whatever background rear projection footage they could. That's my guess, honestly.
surely no chance the crew went out and shot a background plate in the late 90s, and genuinely thought it would look period accurate to the 70s, right? And again, it's possible they just never banked on the invention of HD television and figured nobody would ever notice.
And they just
Nine
grabbed
Inch Nails'
whatever.
Soul. Pixar's
Wait,
Soul
what?
has received effusive praise for, among other things,
What?
its sublime musical score from composing team Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who ultimately went on to receive a Best Original Score Oscar for their work. Reznor has been on such a roll with his scores for movies and TV in recent years that it's easy to lose track of the fact that he's also the frontman for legendary industrial rock group Nine Inch Nails. But Soul actually included a brilliantly momentary nod to this fact early in the film,
What?
mere moments before protagonist Joe Gardner falls down a manhole to his death. Here, Joe walks past a hardware store where nails, get it, have been spilled on the pavement. And to hammer the reference home even more, a poster on the right side of the screen advertises, yep, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, aye, it's not really that subtle when you say it out loud, is it? Still, Pixar once again proves themselves master of the Easter egg game, filling
Very
their
funny.
movies with ingenious references that you'll kick yourself for not noticing sooner.
Shawarma, the Avengers. Though at first glance the
Okay.
Avengers post-credits scene might not seem like much of an Easter egg, it's important to remember that the scene wasn't actually included in the version of the film screened to the press. And so, with reviews mentioning only a mid-credits scene where Thanos made his MCU debut, many audiences upped and left long before the shawarma scene ever happened. Thankfully, most fans ended up going to see the movie at least once more. And once public screenings were underway, it naturally didn't take long before word of a post-credits tag got out in the wild. As for the scene itself, it's nothing more than a seconds-long gag where the exhausted Avengers dine at a shawarma restaurant, circling back to Tony Stark's prior line about going out for some shawarma. This scene was such a late addition that it was actually filmed the day after the movie had its world premiere, hence why it was absent from press screenings. And director Joss Whedon even jokingly denied its existence during interviews leading up to release. Another fun fact, Chris Evans has his fist covering his face during the scene because he'd grown his beard out for another movie and was using his fist to pin a facial prosthetic to his mug.
Oh, that's cute. That's kind of interesting. Ah! Well. So, some not so Easter egg, but that was kind of interesting, I must say. There's some very interesting. Yeah, that was fun. That was really interesting. And right, pretty cool.